Half calf, half decaf. But
All right. So,
we're here.
We are here. We are live with the pregnancy podcast.
This is a good podcast. We're not trying to stir up anything here. We're not trying to start any fights.
I am.
Oh wait, actually, that's what I just said. I was like, I'm leaving to go over to the garage to go start a fight. That's actually what I just said. So we are going to start a fight, not with you guys, but with the rest of the world. So I guess we want to talk a little bit about pregnancy and working out, doing CrossFit.
And flowers and daffodils and rainbows and everything nice and all that stuff. I have to say that this is 3 times as much estrogen as we've ever had on the podcast before. So it's a girl PR.
3 times.
It's a PR for the podcast. So let's go around the table here and introduce. These are all garage girls, all athletes at the garage. CrossFitGarage.com. Before we do that, make sure you guys go to GarageAthletes.com, go to our YouTube channel, Garage Media, subscribe to it, like all the videos, including this one, and yeah, check it out. Now we've got Anna Fana. Should I say your last name? Is it cool to say your Anna Ford, who is obviously still pregnant, very much so.
And how far along right now?
about to be 38 weeks.
All right.
So it might happen on the podcast.
Hoping.
We're really trying hard to make it happen because I think it'd be good for ratings.
Yep.
So
that would be awesome.
So
I've got tricks. Let's do this.
I'll let you know.
So you already have one child that you took through CrossFit, and we're gonna get back to that now. And then you're pregnant now with the second one. And then we have Laura Batista.
Hello.
High level CrossFit athlete, 2011 regionals, right, on the team. And you have had how many children while CrossFitting now?
Just my last one.
Just your last one.
I have 3. I only CrossFitted with number 3.
Okay. And how old is the one you have now?
By the way, 2 years, a regional team athlete.
Oh, yeah.
2 years.
Yeah, 2 years.
My newest, Sarah, is 6 months old.
6 months. So about 6 months in. So you're pretty much recovered and kind of get back at it and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
And then we have Dina, who is also a coach. Oh, I'm sorry. Laura and Dina are both coaches at the garage.
Yep.
And she just had hers. How long ago?
About 12 weeks.
12 weeks. So we've got kind of like a good smorgasbord of like.
I see feet down there.
Yeah. Is that?
She's sleeping.
Oh, okay. We'll try not to be loud. I'm also going to try and curb my what I say on the podcast. So we'll try and make this friendly.
She's listening, so you better.
That's awesome. So now she's awake. Sorry.
Oops.
So we're going to talk about pregnancy, and specifically pregnancy and training, or pregnancy and CrossFit. Maybe the do's, don'ts, what people think, common misconceptions, tips, tricks, what you guys did, how you felt, how it's different for everybody, and whatever you guys come up and feel you talk about.
But really quick, hold on. So we're doing this because there's been an issue. There's been a problem. If we look in the media, I just pulled up Good Morning America online. I'm looking here, and it's like, is CrossFit safe for pregnant women, right? So this has been a huge thing that has just hit all of a sudden. And we see these quotes, we see these terms, these question marks that are pretty aggressive statements being made against pregnant women who are doing CrossFit by random people in the community, as well as doctors, OBs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, Dina, you were the one who had the idea, who said, you need to do a pregnancy podcast. Tell us why. Why did you say that?
Well, I mean, half of the people at our gym are female, and most of us at some point in our life, have birth, or a lot of us do. And there have been, I think at one time I counted like 7 of us at the same time at our gym that were expecting.
Yeah.
And so it's a big thing and people don't really talk about it. Like, I couldn't find a whole lot of information about CrossFitting and pregnancy. It's kind of one of those things, I guess, that is still new, So
should we start? I'm sorry. Should we start using that as a marketing tool, like for women? Like, if you want to get pregnant, come work out here, because there's something in the programming.
It's in the programming.
It's in the programming,
not the water,
not the water,
or the rubber on the floor. It's not that. It's the programming.
It could be the water on the floor. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Ooh, that's
brains turning.
There it is.
So
but I just thought it would be an interesting topic.
Okay, so was it initiated at all by what's being said out there in the world right now? Like, did that kind of get you like, we need to talk about this because people are saying negative things about pregnancy and CrossFit? Or
for me, no. For me, it was more just people around the gym talking. Like, okay, hey, how do I scale this? Or hey, what do I do when I feel this way?
Cool. And do you guys all subscribe to the CrossFitMom.com thing? Is that the right?
Yeah, it's CrossFitMom.com. I
website,
think. Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Well, I looked into it, and would follow it, but I don't know that it was that useful to me. Actually,
helpful.
I had a lot of people direct me there, and I would
Yeah.
glean. I was gleaming whatever I could from every source available, and there really wasn't a lot.
Gotcha.
Like you said, it was mostly, I think from what I found, not a lot of research about high intensity or whatever high intensity is for you when you're pregnant. And I felt that, there wasn't a lot of information. I was every night researching everything I could.
Yeah. Yeah, it's mostly like anecdotal, or it's just like hearsay from what somebody did and this and that.
Right.
I know that my wife, when she had her child, she CrossFitted and weightlifted right up to like 2 days before she had her son. And she used CrossFit Mom because at the time we didn't really have a lot of knowledge on it. But while she was doing that, me being a coach at the time, obviously I tried to absorb every single piece that I could. And the main thing that I took away from it, and that I give to all the girls here, because I've had the opportunity and the honor to train quite a few girls through their pregnancies now, is that everything is different. So, and I think that's probably why you don't see a lot of like cut and dry. Every pregnancy is different. Every situation, every person is going to be different. So there's some rules, there's some things that are kind of exclusive that have to be done. But other than that, it's really just more along the lines of, your individual situation.
Yeah. And what is that? So what is the individual situation? Like, what's the anecdotal evidence that you've had so far? So Anna, you trained CrossFit through the first pregnancy, right?
Yes, and I did use CrossFit Mom because the same thing. I had no idea. The biggest recommendation from my doctor at the time, who was not against me working out, was because it was through the summer. Actually, I was due in October, like Laura just went through, was don't get overheated, stay hydrated. And beyond that, it's do what you've been doing.
Do what you've been doing.
And no one, and it's funny because so many people said, oh, your heart rate can't get over this. Well, you know what? My doctors have never said that. In fact, they said just be able to talk through your workout. Yeah. So I've always used that as my rule of thumb. Now, some people can push themselves beyond that. Okay, today when I was running, I had to slow down so I could talk. But at the same time, it is a personal thing. And you find that, well, I honestly thought the beginning is the hardest part to work out, and that's when no one notices anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, no one cares.
And actually, you just mentioned something. You just got done working out, so you are ready to pop any minute. It could be on the podcast. I'm still pushing for that. And you literally just got done working out right before you came in here at the last class. So let everybody know that it's not. This is serious. We really are working out right up until we have the children. In many cases,
and you were running today, right?
I did run. I ran 800 total.
Yep.
I pulled up and saw her running.
She
passed.
She wasn't
a
jogging.
Few people,
she was
actually.
running. Yes.
I was like, look at her go.
She is running.
Now I do have a goal in mind. I want this kid out today.
Yeah.
But
So I don't know. I haven't really gone back and just looked all over the internet, but I know that there are many runners who run all through their pregnancy, and I don't know that I've ever heard them attacked quite as much as what I've been seeing as far as an attack on the CrossFitters who are pregnant and still CrossFitting. And I kind of wonder, well, what is that? I mean, running is intense. I mean, it is intense.
It is. If I had an opinion on it, I would say it's probably because they don't wear it on their sleeve quite as much as CrossFitters do. CrossFitters are very proud. So they're going to say, I did this, I did that constantly. And when it's put out there, more people are going to be aware of it. I think runners just kind of do their thing.
They don't Facebook post, hey, I ran today.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so
gotcha.
I think that might have a lot to do with it. But yeah, I mean, running, just like anything else, if it feels okay and it doesn't bother you, then absolutely, go for it. Like you said, your doctor said, do what you've been doing. And I think, Laura, you're probably a very good testament to that because you're, great athlete, and you were, I can't really remember very many workouts in here. And you did the gyms program. You didn't do the CrossFit Mom or any other programming like that. There weren't many workouts that you actually scaled. You still went RX'd on most of them.
Yes.
Sometimes against my recommendation even. Like, maybe you should do a little bit less weight. You're like, no, I feel fine. So what was that for you? Was that a mental thing, or did you actually feel like you could do it? Or, what was your...
Well, I really just trusted my body, and there were days where I did come in and one day there was running involved, and I wasn't even very far along. I was in my second trimester, and there was just this pain that I knew wasn't, a good pain, and I just didn't run that day. But later on in the week, I was fine. Like I would jog thinking I thought running was out for the rest of my pregnancy, and I actually was fine after that. I never had issues. The one thing I did stop was the handstand push-ups. Yeah. After 20 weeks, I didn't want to have a breech baby.
Yeah.
And I had actually been advised that by some other ladies at CrossFit that said I would stop the handstands because I wanted to have a natural baby and I didn't want to, be
I think that makes sense.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
So here, let's go ahead and read this. This is on gma.yahoo.com. GMA is Good Morning America. So we have a response to their report that they did from KM. Exercise is fine, but intense, strenuous exercise is stupid and dangerous. Listening to your body isn't good enough when you're stupid to begin with. That's theirs. So how do we respond to that? I mean,
they're not stupid.
Okay, so they're pretty smart, right?
Yeah.
So
it could be right if you've got somebody that's stupid and you don't know the difference between soreness and pain, or or injury, or actual pain. Then I would say maybe that's not too far off.
That person comes out of the gate with strenuous exercise is stupid and dangerous. Dina, what do you think? Give me a response to that.
I didn't have any problem with strenuous exercise.
Yeah.
And going back to even the whole heart rate thing, like my doctor had said, not to get your heart rate above 140. But honestly, when I checked mine, it wasn't even at my high intensity, just because of like how in shape and how fit we are, So it honestly wasn't even an issue, the intensity and the strenuousness.
Yeah, you're right. That's something that I've found, and it's a lot easier because how many people wear heart rate monitors when they, when they're doing WODs or even training period. And so it's kind of hard to tell. And I think that is definitely one of the things that I do tell all the girls, at least in the first trimester, is that, make sure you can maintain a coherent conversation with somebody while you're working out. As long as you can do that, you're fine, because you guys are used to getting your heart rates at up to 180 on a fairly regular basis. So that means that when you start to slow down from the fatigue, from being pregnant and the different hormones that are going through your body, it's going to be hard for you to get your heart rate up to 180.
Exactly.
Even if you try.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
Justin, when I was pregnant, he would come up and try to start a conversation with me while I was working out, and I appreciated that. Make sure I could actually give him a full sentence response.
Yeah. That's the hardest part as a coach. Is like, what am I going to talk to Laura about today?
In the middle of a workout.
But really, the first trimester.
Nice weather today.
Yeah.
How about
the
Braves?
first trimester, you're so tired anyways that it's really
hard to push.
I mean, your intensity really probably is down just because you're tired.
Yep.
When you're nauseated before you walk in to do Fran, it affects your intensity.
I can see that. I can see that. That's funny. Haven't tried that.
So
I would say, so there's a thing that we keep hearing, that we keep coming back to, or at least we being you three, and it's that you're coming back to what you've done before. I mean, it keeps coming back, like, if you're doing what you've done before. And I think if we look back, that's been the golden rule that everyone has always said, well, just continue doing what you've done before. And if you do that, then you're fine. Your body's conditioned to it. And if we go back generations and then more generations, and we keep going back until we cover thousands and thousands of years, what we're going to see is that it has always been that there's no couch and a place to put your feet up. Like, that didn't exist. There's a life that's happening, and lives are dependent upon your effort and your work, right? The woman was a major part of all communities in all parts of the world for all time. They couldn't sit and do nothing. And yet it seems like more and more what we're getting is that people say sit and do nothing. And I wonder what is that? Is it really a concern over your safety? Or I almost wonder, is it that they've been indoctrinated into such an awful place that now they're pushing something that is going to start to ruin the health of pregnant women?
Yeah, what's that that picture on the internet? It goes, well, the problem is that obesity runs in my family. No, the problem is that no one runs in your family.
Exactly.
Didn't you sent me something talking about keep doing the same thing, or maybe it wasn't you. I saw a video on Facebook the other day of a giraffe, and it was running, and then it was eating some leaves or whatever, and all of a sudden a baby giraffe pops out of it.
Exactly.
Like, it was literally doing what it does every single day. Normally, it didn't even stop and slow down and like, okay, all right, I'm going to have a baby. No, it was eating, and it popped out and was like, what's that back there? So, I mean, if it's good enough for giraffes, it's good enough for us, right?
No, I mean, really, I think that's something we've tried to become, this like species of non-movement, right? Like, we don't do anything. So I pulled this up here because this is a movie that I have it in my practice. and I let people borrow it. The business of being born. And so when we start looking at what OBs are doing to the whole birth process, the moment, okay, hey, I'm pregnant. Okay, great. So now you're a problem. You're a risk. At this point forward now, you're at risk of having issues, right? Now, like, oh, fantastic. Such a natural thing. It's great. Ooh, we got to watch out. We got to manage.
Don't want to get sued.
We got to worry, right? And so, yeah, so there's like the lawsuit thing, and there's, I mean, all these things now that have pushed this process into a business. It is seriously a business. And I look at it, I think, you know, the most likely person to end up in a C-section is the one who sits around doing nothing. The most likely person to have issues is the one who doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
And so
I don't think it's so much the doctor's fault either. I think it's probably more the lawyers than anything else. Because doctors are just flat out scared of being sued at this point.
Yeah, the system is, you're right. There's a lot of stuff that makes the system a failure.
So I'm curious, something that I wanted to talk about too is supplementation and nutrition and stuff while you guys are pregnant. Obviously, we all know that, you know, we have cravings, and I think you guys, just from, you know, talking back and forth, probably understand why those cravings are, or, you know, why you're having those types of cravings. But how did y'all's diets, at least in your last pregnancies, how did they change, and did you take any supplementations on top of it or whatever? Start with you, Anna.
And I was like, I really like ice cream and cake. And so I feel. So I see her face. Doing.
It's worse than that. I just don't want to say it in front of Dr. Eric.
It's okay. You're growing. It's okay if you have pizza when you're growing an ear in your belly.
Well, before I wadded today, I had half a donut. When I was done, I ate the other half.
Yeah, so only one donut.
I'm not kidding. that happened.
That's so
today.
funny. That's what I had, and I'm not pregnant. So I don't have an excuse.
So maybe you shouldn't ask me.
No, that's what
okay.
I want to know, because
okay.
you don't. How did it change from regular? Are you typically a fairly clean eater?
I'm fairly clean usually. I crave a lot more sugar pregnant. I did the first time too. So I have to work a lot harder to control it. And the control is, for me, I see your heads nodding, so I'm so glad it's not just me. For me, it's been a struggle. I have to fight with myself.
So now that's curious that you're craving more sugar, or glucose, or whatever we want to call it. Do you eat fairly paleo, and do you have a low carbohydrate diet when you're not pregnant?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm not full paleo. I guess I could say I'm moo paleo because I love my dairy.
Yeah.
But
low carbohydrates.
Oh yeah.
So that's very interesting, because
plug the podcast. Did you see the podcast that paleo will give you cancer, heart disease, and all that? Did you watch that podcast? You should watch it.
I'll go home and watch it.
Yeah, with Dr. Jockers.
Dr. Jockers here in this
I think
room.
you did well. We were talking. Yeah.
Okay, keep going, sir.
So as we know that our bodies tell us what we need when we're pregnant, right? There are things that our baby has to have. You know, if we crave buffalo sauce, we probably need more sodium, more salt in our diet. If we crave hard-boiled eggs at 3 o'clock in the morning, we probably need more protein in our diet. So the fact that you ate paleo before, it probably means that maybe you were a little carb deficient, and now that you have a little one growing inside you, it's saying, hey, I need carbs, and it's giving you those cravings.
Did you just give me permission to go get a Blizzard after this?
Absolutely. Do whatever you want to do, as long as you have the baby on the podcast.
I'm going to stop. I'm not going to.
I'm just kidding.
No. For another couple days, then it's back to zone now.
I've been going gelato. It's a little healthier.
Now, obviously, there's obviously better choices that we can make. I mean, when we crave chocolate or sugar or something like that, there are better options that we can have than going and getting candy to get that glucose.
Batista, what do you crave? What do you?
It was chocolate.
Yeah,
and
chocolate.
actually, I was recording everything I was eating, and I didn't know I was pregnant, and I have actually recorded how I just want chocolate so bad and Cheez-Its. I need Cheez-Its.
Cheez-Its, yes.
And I never eat processed food. It'll be like on a holiday I'll have chips or something like this, and I just wanted Cheez-Its so bad. And then
you found out. You said you didn't know. How long did you not know? I mean, how far along were you when you found out?
Well,
30,
actually,
38
I
weeks.
I thought, you know, because I do start feeling sick like the next day. Mm-hmm. I thought maybe I was, but the test came back negative, and I actually competed in the garage games.
Oh, wow.
Because I thought, okay, I'm good. Yeah. But I was so tired. And then like a week after the garage games, it came to a sudden screeching halt. I was so tired by noon. If I hadn't done it, it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
Well, Laura and I and Andy McCann, we were in, how many hours in before you told us? I mean, we're into an adventure race, like maybe like 14 hours in or so. And you're like,
explain what that is. I think a lot of people don't know what that is.
Yeah, so a 30-hour race in the woods. We're going to run, bike, canoe,
it's
basically.
Like off-road triathlon, but you've got a map.
Map, compass, you got to navigate. You're lost in the woods. We were lost in the woods for part of it.
It happens.
We're in the middle of 300 square miles, and you're like, not too sure where we are right now.
Let's walk that way.
Nothing's looking quite like it's supposed to. Anyway, so at some point, Laura's like, hey, guys, so I've been feeling sick the whole time. I might be pregnant, and I haven't eaten anything. You're 14 hours in, right? And we're eating every hour. You're just consuming and consuming to make sure that you can keep going. And she just powered through the whole thing. We finished it and did well, and actually beat some professional teams in that one, too. It was pretty solid. So so this is someone who can, she wasn't pregnant, we found out later, but this is someone who can definitely take kind of how she's feeling and okay, I can just shove that aside for now and keep going.
Yeah.
Just a good job
you've got a high tolerance for pain, for sure. But so you said you craved Cheez-Its and chocolate. Did that continue the whole time?
No. By about 10 weeks, I felt good. And at 20 weeks, it was really strict clean until about the last 2 weeks when it was just horrible. I mean, it was pasta. It was a lot. Well, pasta.
Why does that happen? My wife did that too. She's just super good in the last 2 weeks. She's like, screw it all.
I couldn't. I was we went to Maggiano's, or it was. I just remember having so much pasta.
And if you're listening to this podcast right now and you're wondering wait, she just said it was awful and she said pasta. Why is that awful? Then you need to dig into some of our other stuff too. Yeah. So healthsprout.com/daily-sprout. Read. Go ahead.
Well, it was interesting because the foods I was craving as I went along, it was, like you said, it was I was naturally eating the things that my body needed. I found I started eating yogurt, I think, in the first trimester, and then looking back at it, yogurt was a good thing to eat. And then there was I couldn't eat eggs. The first trimester, I went from a lot of eggs. Was it smell? I couldn't even stand a thought. I didn't eat an egg for about 3 months. I did not.
That's a weird thing. How
all my wife ate.
Women do that whole thing. That's just weird. Once, I think it was chicken. I was making chicken, and my wife was pregnant, right? And
get it out of here! Get it out!
It was get this out of the house, and that was it. There was never a chicken again.
Oh yeah, my favorite food was beef stroganoff. And for my first pregnancy, my husband was out training for a job in California, and then I popped this, get it in the oven. I went to take a shower, came back down, and I couldn't breathe. I mean, I was throwing up all the way through the kitchen. I threw it out the door. And I have not had it since, and that's 8 years ago.
Wow.
And it's just
spearmint and avocado for my wife. The first one, we were literally on the plane back and we figured when it was actually, so it was that quick. It was several days after she almost threw up from the smell of spearmint. Wow. And then it was when we had a dish that we ate all the time. It was shrimp and avocado with onions and tomatoes or something like that. And she got sick. And what she kept saying is is this avocado bad? This avocado's bad. It's disgusting. I'm it tastes amazing. What are you talking? Because she made it, and I was like, well, are you digging for something? What do you want? But yeah, so it's weird.
Dina, are you a closet junkie in pregnancy? What's the story with you?
Well, my first trimester, I was so nauseated that I just ate what I could keep down, which was a lot more breads and carbs and kind of pasta-y type things. I just couldn't keep down anything else. So that was just kind of how I was the first trimester. And then I had an egg thing too. I love scrambled eggs, but it would make me nauseated just to smell it. So I had an egg thing. But then after that, I pretty much ate fruits, vegetables, lean meats, but I did have the huge sugar cravings. And I did give in to them sometimes. But I don't know what it was.
What was your fix? What was your fix for the sugar?
Ice cream.
Yeah. Sugar and dairy. Nice.
Yes.
I tell you, the nice thing on the ice cream, just so you know, because of the fat, you do have lower total glycemic load from ice cream than you do from most other sugars. If you go eat a donut, sorry, but just that grain.
Well, there's fat in donut too.
You definitely, there's fat in donut, but there's not as much. Yeah.
As long as it's from Krispy Kreme, it's okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's so funny. So we've got sugar is kind of a common thing that we all want. And I think all of you guys probably had a fairly low sugar intake prior to being pregnant. So that makes sense, right? Not our body's looking for. But other than that, you guys kind of had a lot different situations that you were going for, the things that you like, when you were having the cravings, how are you eating before and afterwards. So that kind of comes back to everything's different. So basically, if you're a mom or you're pregnant, you're CrossFitting, don't freak out when you're having why do I want to eat bark from a tree. I don't, there's something.
There's a reason.
It's okay. There is a reason. Go get some bark. Maybe not bark. But
I think it's good to kind of get what you guys all said, because there's different timing for kind of when you did different things, right? Like Dina, you started going early on with the whole I need to have something carbohydrate-y, bread-like, grain-like, just to get me through the day. And I think it's important that a pregnant woman realizes that you might give up some of your commitments, right? Like just short term, because it's necessary. You got to try to get food in. And I know a lot of women have a hard time eating anything. And I've known quite a few of those in my practice who are just totally starved. And it's not cool when they go for like, almost 2 trimesters and they haven't changed weight at all. I'm like, ooh, that's not so good.
So next thing, since we're on it, let's
the barbell? No, go ahead.
Yeah. Caffeine and alcohol. And did you guys drink before, either or both? And are you doing it now, or how much? Have you slacked off? Again, I'll start back with Anna. I think I see something. Yeah, hold on.
There's a reason I got a donut. I don't get a donut. I don't get a donut every day.
Is there,
no, not at all. I promise.
Is there Bailey's Irish cream in that too?
No.
So is it caffeine?
No, it's half calf, half decaf. And I just like to tell myself that that's okay.
Did you drink a lot of caffeine before, before you were pregnant?
I drink less now, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah.
But I didn't cut it completely off. I cut it out for most of the first trimester. But
what about when you were pregnant with your first?
I don't remember. I keep telling myself I did the same thing now, if that makes sense.
But the baby is healthy, right?
Yes.
And you go get it checked
I've had
in.
no problems. So
yeah, your belly isn't going to explode if you have a half a cup of coffee in the morning. Basically, is what I wanted to get at.
Yeah.
And I see that there. What about alcohol, wine, or anything like that?
I've had a glass of wine from time to time, but not till well into, I think it was halfway through my second trimester. It was more of one of those, I shouldn't say necessity, that's probably a bad word, but with my stressful job, I told myself, I was
We're
like,
going to peg you for an interview now.
I've got to relax. Yeah, I don't want my baby taken from me by defects when we. No, I had a really stressful job, so I would have half a glass of wine once a week or something.
Yeah, when she says stressful, she's a teacher, so she's not kidding.
Yeah,
so,
and I actually do want to come back to something about that at the end if we could.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ties along with the giraffe thing.
Laura, so you're married to a Frenchman.
Yes.
So I'm assuming you've had some wine during pregnancy here and there? I mean.
Well, yeah, in France, I mean, they
just drink straight through.
They do.
I know.
They drink wine.
Cigarettes and the whole nine, yeah.
It was interesting talking to my in-laws because what they were told not to eat is different than what we're told not to eat. Mm-hmm. So.
Stop drinking water when you're pregnant.
Right.
Don't do that.
Wine was fine, but I'm not a big drinker, and I used to drink with my first 2. Especially with my second, I had a lot of migraines, and I got on this Coke thing. Like, it was bad. I started drinking.
Caffeine and
if
sugar.
I started seeing a migraine come on, I was having Coke because I couldn't take Excedrin. I had never had migraines before. Yeah. Those hit me like a brick wall.
And
this was with which? Wait.
My second.
Okay.
My second. I had one migraine, my first migraine ever with my first pregnancy, and then with Benji, I was laid up for almost 2.5 months. Wow. I didn't get out of bed. David had to take care of Kate, and
you should have known me then.
I didn't know you. I didn't know you then, and it was really bad. I couldn't. Tylenol doesn't do anything for a migraine.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. The caffeine and sugar definitely does help.
Yeah, and once that first couple months went by, if I felt a migraine coming on, I could have a Coke, and I just somehow you just instinctively knew that helped, and I think it might be the caffeine in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it absolutely is, and there's less.
Maybe coffee would have been better.
That sugar
for me.
too probably helps a lot too. Actually, a lot of times sugar does release the tension.
Yeah, and I had a lot of Coke after the kids were born when I was so tired. After kid number 1, you never know what you're doing, and I didn't sleep a lot. But by the time I had my third, I didn't drink Coke anymore. I mean, I might have a couple a year, and I don't drink coffee. So caffeine it just wasn't an issue for me, caffeine. I just slept a lot the first trimester. And then as far as wine, I did have a glass of wine my second trimester at my birthday party, and my mom was there. Hi, Mom. She got really upset because you don't drink when you're pregnant. Oh, my God. Had to promise her I wasn't going to have any more alcohol.
Were David's parents were they there?
No, they're in France.
Yeah.
Okay. But so I had to promise Mom that I wouldn't drink anymore. But I don't. personally
Not for the
have
kid,
a
for the
problem.
mom.
Yeah, she was. It mattered to her.
Which
a
means
lot.
you really probably had some, but you just can't say it now.
Right.
Okay.
Something like that.
My
Maybe
mom,
I did, and maybe I did.
my mom's a nurse practitioner, and this Christmas she poured me wine. So
Oh.
there's that.
So,
that.
but that,
She wasn't against it.
it is interesting to see how. I mean, it was obviously very important to her, you know, and it's all because of information that I'm sure she's received from whatever source, you know, be it her doctor.
Oh yeah, I mean,
books
she
or
was
media
just.
or,
I know she would do
worried.
anything. Yeah, she just loved me, and
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
it was like, what is this?
They want a perfect grandkid.
Yeah.
What about you, Dina? You're not a big drinker, anyways, right?
The only thing I keep at my house is water.
Is water? Yeah.
Now, when I go out to eat, I might have like a sweet tea or a Coke every now and then. But so before and during pregnancy, I was pretty
So you
much
didn't
water
change
only.
anything, yeah. So
No.
you didn't really drink caffeine or alcohol, anyways. So you
Right.
just continued not to do it.
Right.
Cool. So again, different, and nobody's dead. You guys didn't die, so that's cool. Yeah. So
I'm just rocking the baby here while you're talking.
yeah, sorry. So one more thing that's on my head that I want to get off before that I want to talk about before we get any further is I said supplementation. I know something that I tell all of my women to take that are pregnant or whatever is
All
fish
my
oil.
women.
Yeah, all my women. No, that sounds horrible. All of the moms that come through the door.
Omega-3 fatty acid.
Justin's moms.
Yes.
Yes, omega-3, specifically DHA. Did you guys, any of you guys take omega-3s? So you did? So I know I talked to you specifically about it, and I think I talked to all three of you guys about it. So
Real important first trimester, really important.
very important. And something else
neurological mapping.
that we can go ahead and talk about too is the omega-3 specifically, but all fish oils are not created equal because you have to look at some and make sure that if they do have omega-3s that they don't have the other portion of it that they don't mention is going to be 6s and 9s, which is kind of what we're trying to offset the ratio for. We talked about that in previous podcasts. But specifically for omega-3s, even if you get a good fish oil that is omega-3 only, you want to have something when you're pregnant with a higher DHA to EPA ratio. And the reason why that is, I don't know, Ed, if you want to talk about it, but it's because
what you utilize for neurological development. So basically DHA becomes more of your nervous system. So as you're creating nervous system, because that's what you're building in the beginning, right? Your baby's in there, just you got a whole bunch of stem cells right inside of you. That's kind of what you have at first. And then out of nowhere comes the spinal cord. So the very first thing that shows up is neurological tissue, which requires all that good, healthy DHA fat. So then a brain comes, right? So everything that starts is all neurological. So you want to map that as well as possible. You don't want to have any issues there. You don't want to have a lack of molecules to build, right?
Yeah. And
So that's the
while
point.
while we as full-grown humans can transfer EPA to DHA, the baby cannot.
There's nothing in there yet that will transition that. So even the most common omega-3 that people will get is ALA, because people like to eat nuts and seeds and find like, oh, I'm getting my omega-3s, right? So that's ALA, and that is something that you will transition significantly, over to EPA DHA. But yeah, baby won't do that at all.
Cannot
So
do that. So that is something I
Good
want to
fish.
touch on a
Yep.
little tip.
good. That's a good point.
Yep. Find a good fish oil. Specifically, look for high DHA, and make sure that if it says 1,200 milligrams in a serving, that it doesn't say 800 milligrams of omega-3s, and the rest is just fish oil.
And it doesn't mean you have to shy away from one that's richer in EPA. It just means you should just up your total dosage really too. So that's definitely a possibility. But I think the other thing too to mention with that, the reason why we don't eat just a ton of fish is because we don't want all that mercury coming in. So as so if you're out there and you're listening and you're like, oh, I'll just eat more of the fish that have that. Well, whoa, you don't want mercury coming into your body while you're eating for two. And actually, the FDA, which I don't really trust a lot of what they say, but they will say that pregnant women should just totally swear off a lot of different fish. Swordfish, for example, they say you should never even touch that.
Larger fish.
Woman, and it's the larger fish that have higher levels of toxins. So when you're buying your fish oil, you definitely want to look for that term molecularly distilled. That term is what means, okay, they've gone through the process of distilling it to get off PCBs and mercury and other toxins. So.
What do you typically tell females to take in as far as milligrams per day of fish oil if they are taking that?
It really depends on what they're doing too. So like a CrossFitting group like you guys, I would love to have you up to 20 grams a day of total omega-3 consumption. So that's going to be tough, right? But that's total omega-3 consumption. If you get to just 5 grams on the EPA DHA side, then I think you'll be cool there as far as getting what you need, and the rest could be ALA, meaning just a bunch of seeds and nuts and stuff. So, but it means you have to go after it intentionally. Yeah.
Now, what happens if you take more than your body can absorb?
You will take and you store that fat as ready energy too. But the cool thing about it is that when you're storing fat, it doesn't actually create much fat. It's an interesting thing where sugar, you're basically going to turn it in and convert it into this, this hypertrophy of the fat cell, growing it, where you actually just add omega-3 on as an easily cleavable free fatty acid, so you can turn it into energy really fast too. So that's a cool thing. It's ready energy.
Yeah. It's something that I have noticed in multiple cases, females and males, is that if they do take an kind of an overdose, I guess you would say, of omega-3s, really the only thing that happens is it can mess with your GI a little bit. So if you're having bowel issues, maybe you are in kind of like a surplus of it, and that's something to look towards. But if you're not,
kind of lubes you up a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. So anyways, all right, cool. Well, what let's see, what's next? What are we missing? Are there anything that any of you girls want to talk about specifically that you want to say out to the community? Maybe some girls that are out there, that some stuff that you went through when you were pregnant, that there are other girls that go through that you can tell them, give them advice on, or something like that.
And I know you had said the postpartum thing earlier too. I think you want to talk about that. And
let me hit on one thing from before, just because I couldn't get an or edgewise. I'm just kidding. And I'm just kidding. This time CrossFitting, I have a toddler, and Dina's a teacher too, and I was on my feet all day teaching. And nowhere does anyone say, stop what you're doing, stop chasing a toddler around, stop carrying him, which he's huge. I have to carry him. Now I just sling him over my shoulder. By the way, CrossFitting comes in handy when you have a toddler and you're pregnant, because, I can just pick him up with one arm, sling him over, and we're good. But I'm like, I would tell my husband, what do women do who don't CrossFit? How are they supposed to carry a toddler when they're pregnant? And the other thing is my job. It was so much work. So I don't understand where people will criticize exercise that's going to help you throughout the pregnancy and through labor, when the things that every mom, especially a mom of more than one child, is doing, those things can contribute to much more stress and injury. I haven't injured myself working out, and I've been careful because of the relax and everything this third trimester, not lifting heavy. But my son is heavier than some of the things people say, oh, don't do that. Don't do that. But I have to carry a toddler. What do you want me to do?
That's a great point. That's a required function, right?
Yeah.
Like, you have no choice. This is a required function. Like, well, my kid was too heavy, so I let him run in the street because I couldn't grab him.
Right.
That's a good decision.
I did want to hit on that because we were talking about what the world says about CrossFit, and we didn't really say much about how we're scaling. Well, we did. It was Laura. Laura was able to. She didn't have to scale as much as I scale a lot, especially right now.
Did you PR?
I did, not on purpose.
So. Just
not on purpose, but yeah.
Where how far along? How many? You were 20 weeks.
You saw me. It wasn't that long ago.
Second trimester, right?
Yeah. No, I actually PR'd even in third with a front squat.
You PR'd severow times. Yeah.
Front squat, but it was personal. It was the front squat because it just was so much easier for me to do. In that barbell row, but that's probably because I couldn't do pull-ups anymore. But
I bet too, though. Yeah, the change in balance that happens with having a baby there, that all of a sudden certain lifts become easier.
Lower center of gravity.
You're like, wow, I can actually stand up straight with this.
It's so much easier to front squat.
Yeah, but wait until you get that 25 pounds on in a couple of days, and you come on and you can add 25 more pounds to your front squat.
Now I'm not trying right now. Again, my joints are all loose right now, so I'm not even trying that now. But yeah, I just I would encourage any woman who wants to get pregnant to start working out beforehand, so you can keep doing those things, because you never know when you're going to be. Especially if you are already chasing a toddler, you're going to need it.
Yeah, and stress management is super important if you're trying to get pregnant. If you are overstressed, it is going to be more difficult to get pregnant. And if you can add positive stress into your life, it's going to help you adjust and cope with the normal stresses that you have of everyday life anyways, then your stress level is going to be better overall. And you will, by you will definitely become more fertile because of it. It's absolute.
Well, one of the comments that I saw here as I was looking at that website there for the Good Morning America, I saw a comment and the person said, well, I'm not too sure, maybe this is good, maybe this is bad. But they said, my wife and I lost one of our babies kind of late in pregnancy, and we kind of wonder, is it something that we did or something that we could have done? So I kind of wonder, too, what people picture. Like, I kind of think when people picture a baby inside of mom, that they see like this vast cavern and then a little baby stuck up in a corner. And I think it's good for people to realize that, no, those drawings that kind of demonstrate a cervix and a uterus, and there's all this space, and then there's a little baby, and they're just kind of floating, and there's air. Like, that doesn't exist. Like, there is no space. It is compact tissue. The only way there's space is if something is pushed in to make the space for something. So, it's not like you have a baby kind of floating in there, like, oh, if I hiccup, it could come out. Right? No. It's connected. It's really connected. So you can push yourself. You can move. You can run. You can bound even. You can jump a little bit, right? You can do these things. And it's not like this baby is like, oh, it's getting weaker. The strings are breaking off. Oh, no.
I like to think of it as those cute pictures of the videos of the cats that get in the little vases, and like the cats are way bigger than the vase or whatever. And then they just get in it, and then it's just a bunch of fur in a vase and their head sticking out like that. That's what it is.
That's a good example. Like, That is, exactly.
Completely full.
There is no wasted space.
You have a kitten in your vase. Sorry, did I mess it up?
You just coined a whole new term.
That's
going
to happen.
Thing.
Actually, we're going to make shirts for pregnant women. And it's just going to have a kitten in the vase and the baby.
That's how you see. We're going to have a whole bunch of people who announce like via social media that they're pregnant, and they're just going to say, "I have a kitten in the vase."
Yeah, it's better than a bun in the oven.
Yep.
I get sick of saying that. Yeah, absolutely better than, because bun is gluten, right?
That is why.
So what about you guys? What kind of two different situations, but what would be your kind of some advice?
Well, one thing I was going to mention was about energy levels, because like a lot of, when you're pregnant, you get tired, and, that seems to be a huge issue. But other than my first trimester, I really found that my energy level was fine, and I had a very full day. I would get up and work out myself at 5 in the morning. I was a teacher. I was on my feet all day with kids, like K through 5, not only on my feet, but I'm a music teacher, so I'd be moving and dancing with them and, that kind of on your feet. And then when I'd finish that, I would come back here and coach. So I had a very full day when I was pregnant, and I really think that CrossFitting and exercising in the morning really helped me keep that energy up that you need while you're pregnant. So other than my first trimester being tired, I really felt like a good thing with CrossFit was that it kept my energy there for when I needed it.
Staying in motion helped you stay. Being in motion helped you stay in motion.
There's an article, and I wish I could remember. I think it was the American Academy of Sports Medicine, their journal back in mid-90s, and it came out and it showed they had demonstrated how they could take an untrained person and push them through a workout routine to get them highly trained. And their highly trained probably was about equivalent to just a typical CrossFitter, basically over a 12-month period. And they biopsied muscle tissue at the beginning and at the end. And what they found is in that 12-month period that these individuals, they could double their total mitochondria in their cells. So that's what makes your energy, right? Mm-hmm. So they could double. So that would double your energy right there. But they tripled the enzymes of the Krebs cycle. So inside of the mitochondria is the cycle that creates ATP. They had tripled the presence of enzymes. So twice as many mitochondria, triple the total enzymes equals 6 times the total energy production capacity. So obviously that would make a whole lot of difference in pregnancy. Mm-hmm. So. And
I think it's a good point that you said that you trained in the morning, because a lot of people know, and we talked about it in previous podcasts too. You can go to, what episode was it? It was episode, was that Dr. Jockers too? Or no, that was the one with Donovan. That was like episode 7 or something. Whatever. So
watch them all.
Yeah, watch them all, like them all. We talked about circadian rhythm, or the patterns, and our cortisone level, or stress hormone, is already at its highest in the morning. So if we're going to do a stressful thing like drink coffee or work out or whatever, the morning is probably a smart time to do it, because your stress levels are already high. You're introducing something that helps you accommodate and adapt to the stress that you already have, and then your stress levels are going to lower throughout the rest of the day, which means that you're going to be able to cope with whatever stress the day has better throughout the day. So that's something I think that is maybe important. And like you said, if you don't work out in the morning, I'm sure you probably had a lot less energy, right? By 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, when maybe we're trying to start to slow down, or melatonin levels, start to go up and things like that. So I think that's probably important to mention as well.
Yeah. Good call.
What do you think? What else?
Postpartum.
Yeah, postpartum.
Tell me about that. So you have a baby, and you want to be, super CrossFitter now, but is it easy? Is it hard? Is it impossible? What's the story?
Yeah, how long did it take you guys to get back?
It's very humbling.
I found that to be the hardest part.
Yeah, I think so too.
Harder than the pregnancy.
Yeah, and probably that's probably my fault too, because that is probably one of the biggest things that I am difficult on all my mothers, that because that is the one time, even though the whole rhabdomyolysis thing is kind of, it's silly and it's over the top or whatever, that is the one time, especially the better you are at CrossFit, the higher level you are at CrossFit, the higher pain tolerance and threshold, and the better you are conditioned before you get pregnant, the easier it is for you to develop that, because you have the mental ability to push yourself through that pain threshold, but you are deconditioned because you have been training less, you have been training at a lower intensity, so you can break your muscle fibers down a lot easier than you could before, and that's when rhabdo can happen. So that's something that I definitely am like all my mom's butts about. And I remember, almost yelling at you at sometimes, like, slow down, because you wanted to go, you wanted to get it back, and that's the thing. So what was your mental process with that? How difficult? And you said it was the hardest thing, but what did you have to go through to do that?
Well, it's just a mental game. I think while you're pregnant, everyone's saying, oh, you're going to drop this baby and you're going to be like so much stronger for it. And, you'll be all, if you can do pull-ups now, you're going to be able to do pull-ups great when you drop her. Yeah. And that wasn't the case for me. I was tired. I don't know if it's because I'm breastfeeding or what, but I felt like,
less sleep.
Yeah, just generally. Now, comparing it to baby 1 and 2, that I was not paleo, I was not CrossFitting, I'm doing so much better. The whole pregnancy went better. Post having a child, everything is easier. But for me, it's not just jumping back to before I had a baby. I mean, there's going to be some recovery time there. But I was back in the gym within a couple weeks. I mean, I felt fine to work out. I just didn't have the same energy that I would have had, prior.
Which is good. That's probably a good thing, because it did hold you back a little bit. And speaking of postpartum, we were talking about fish oil. Postpartum is that is great for fish oil as well, or fish oil is great for postpartum.
I think all the time. I mean, that's the thing. We realize there's a need. You have a need for fat that's always there, and there's a lot of healing that happens to a body when you've just delivered a baby, and every single cell that you rebuild has a double layer of fat around it. So consume the healthy fat. Period.
So hard for you.
Dina PR'd like the day after she had a baby.
I did not. I've only been back 6 weeks since having her, and it's been very humbling. But the thing that I had to tell myself was that lifelong physical health and physical fitness is my goal, and not to get too bogged down in what I can and can't do this year. And remembering too, I've got the mental push through, I've got the head knowledge. I feel like I'm starting over with a different body. I don't know if that even makes sense. It's not just that you lost weight. It feels like a different body. Like an air squat feels different.
Yeah. Well, your hip structure changes. There's no way around it. And there's no amount of crunches or paleo eating or anything like that can change that. Your bone structure changes.
Does electroshock therapy do that? Does it fix that?
That will, yeah. Okay. Extensive orthopedic surgery could potentially help. But... So
that's just what I told myself, that was my goal, to be a lifelong, physically active and fit.
That's good advice for anyone who's actually injured themselves too, right? Because, I mean, that's always something that, like, oh, I don't want to lose my fitness. I need to keep going. I got to keep pushing. When the reality is, it's like, okay, well, find a way to do that without hurting yourself, right? So same thing for you as you come back, right? Find a way to keep moving forward. Don't hurt myself. Just develop this new fitness again.
And that's all based on goals too. I mean, like you're not trying to be a regional level athlete in CrossFit or anything like that. And you understand that you have completely different goals, and maybe somebody who is a regional or CrossFit Games athlete that has a child and is trying to come back, obviously they're probably going to look at it differently. So kind of going back to the different situation.
Laura, are you cool with your sister being so good now?
Oh gosh, I'm so proud of her.
And I can tell you're proud. Is there anything
so-
that kind of stings you at all? Like, oh man, she used to be fitter than her.
Are you
Did you have that at all?
secretly hope she
Tell
gets
me.
pregnant?
No, I'm just living vicariously through her. At
Good
this,
deal.
You know. It's
So
like
yeah, so her
the
sister,
the blood is moving on, and yeah.
her sister Brooke Pantazides. Yeah. Pantazides.
Yes.
She's going to regionals, and where'd she place? Where was
Well,
she?
no, she's not going to regionals.
No, she got close. She went
bombed on
180.
one of her workouts.
Yeah,
Oh.
187.
She was like
She
in
was
the
like
top 50, top 30 for a lot of them, and then like
All of a sudden-
800 for one of them. So
That was like me with that stupid overhead squat thing.
yeah.
Well,
but she'll be there next year.
Yeah, for her it was just her pulling capacity on her for the chest to bars really messed her up. But we're working
Gotcha.
on it.
Cool.
We're working on it. She's going to be there next year.
All right, cool. So you're nothing but pride. So that's good because I can see like sometimes that can be like I was so good and I keep having babies and now I'm like getting older and man.
No.
beat her.
Blessing, and the babies are a blessing. And
Yeah.
and as far as
Hi
like,
Kate, there's a baby over there. That's one of Laura's.
I got one
babies.
of my babies.
She's
And
over there.
actually,
And she's a ridiculous athlete herself. She can do everything in the world.
Yeah, we
She
have
out hollow
states.
rocked me today.
she's
We were
going to
doing hollow
States
rock.
this
Nice.
weekend for gymnastics, so we're going to Savannah.
Sweet.
But to that point, with the first two kids, when I was pregnant, I almost treated it like I was sick. I needed the doctor to come and save me, and don't lift anything, don't do anything, make sure you're eating a lot of everything. And I gained a lot of weight, and I felt sick. Like I treated myself like I was sick, and I felt sick. And after
Business of being born.
and
Sorry, keep going.
And at that point, I could not have imagined why anyone would want to have a child naturally, or the whole thing was scary. I wanted to put it in a doctor's hands and have them deliver the baby to me. And then while I was pregnant, or while I was in labor with my son, I had some time of pain before they actually got that epidural in me. With number one, I was like, get this epidural in me before I even have pain. I was so scared. But with Benji, I just had this moment of, connectiveness with my husband. And it just like hit me. This is something beautiful. My body's capable of so much more. And I still got the epidural because I had never considered or even knew what that would look like doing a natural birth. Yeah. But at that moment, I was telling David as I got the epidural, I'm gonna regret this. I am missing out on a huge blessing. And ever since that time, it took me another 6 years to get pregnant. And I was looking forward to the chance that I would have to fully experience being pregnant. And like you were saying with just in America, we're so blessed to have these hospitals and first aid and operations that they can do. It's amazing. But I think somewhere in the blessing, we've turned over the blessing of being a mom and our bodies being so capable, and we've turned it over to someone else. And while I'm thankful for these amazing skills that these surgeons have, I'm so thankful that I got to actually experience the strength that my body has in it. And through that, my husband being there for me, I don't know, it was a blessing for him. And when I said I was going to do my third one naturally, he was, are you sure? And he was not. He was not understanding that. But when it all came down to it afterwards.
No.
Yeah.
David has the coolest accent too, by the way.
No, Laura, no. The medication for that.
Yes, and he was not understanding why I would want to do that. And I said, it's really for us. Like, I think it's going to be a blessing for us. I really felt led to do it. And as it went along, he was on the same page. But ultimately, David was holding my hand, and my daughter, Kate, was there.
You were there. I thought that.
And it was amazing. And it wasn't, the screaming, or it wasn't scary. It was just them holding my hands, and I had a skirt on, and the baby just pushed itself out, and it was the best, most empowering thing I've ever done.
It was really cool for us as well. I mean, we had 80s music playing, actually. I have to put that out there. We decided. Did I not tell you that?
No, I don't think
we had I thought I told you. You'll appreciate this for sure. So we put on 80s Pandora radio basically as soon as she went into labor and started, and we're like, all right, whatever song is being played when he actually comes out,
that's his song.
That'll be his song.
Yeah. What's his song?
Girls Just Want to Have Fun.
You sang that to Sarah when she came to the gym the first time.
Yep,
Okay.
I did. Yeah, so it's got a special place in my heart. And when I tell him that, when I tell his girlfriend that, when he brings her home, I'm sure it'll be a great story.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so it was cool. I mean, actually, Elise just said, she's like, you just felt like a PR deadlift.
Do you think
that's what she said.
The comfort that you develop with the pain through CrossFit is there any carryover into delivery at all? I mean, because we put ourselves through a decent amount of pain in the CrossFit world. I'm wondering, does that make you any better to handle the pain during delivery, or does it not even touch it? Just curious.
I might be able to comment on that in the next few days.
Okay.
Since I'm going for natural this time,
We'll
didn't the
we'll
first time.
append this.
So you might have a better story than I could.
Yeah, I think it does in that in the moments, at any one moment while I was in labor, I knew I was okay. It was always when you start thinking ahead. Mm-hmm. And if you've ever done a workout where you didn't know how long it would take you, it was more like that.
Yeah.
Like if you could picture.
Did you come to my goals workshop that one time?
Yes, it was like that one.
Yeah, when I didn't let you guys know what's going to happen next.
So one day he said, "You're going to do burpees, and I want you to go as fast as you can." But he didn't say like you're going to go to 100 burpees or you're going to do it for 10 minutes. He just made us do burpees, and
like
it was very uncomfortable. If you've never done that, it's very uncomfortable to not know when the finish line is.
Yeah.
And that's probably the hardest part, because if I stopped myself in any one moment, it hurt, but I was fine. But not knowing, and so I was taking it. I had a clock right in front of me at the hospital, and I would try to be like, okay, 10 more minutes, or I would try to take it in small chunks. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, for me, it wasn't that bad. I mean, I was surrounded by people I loved. And I had the doctors there, and it was very natural. But I had come to peace, and this was something I knew I wanted. Had I been scared, I think I would have not made it. And that's what's hard about the hospital system too, is they're so set up to push you in a certain direction. But thankfully, I had doctors that supported me, and I came in. I knew what I wanted, and they were good with it. So.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, we have a discussion, my husband and I, because he CrossFits too, that the way he's going to push me through, especially the transition, is the way I push myself through one of those WODs is I just get through the one at a time, get through the double unders, get through the box jumps. And
each contraction.
And I thought he was going to laugh at me, but he totally understood what I was asking him to do, because this is our birth plan. He's going to get me through the labor like a WOD, like a coach. Yeah.
That's cool.
That's actually pretty cool. Like I said, my wife kept going back to it, and we just, just 1 rep max. That's all it is. 1 rep max.
That's awesome. Every
single time. Deadlift.
It's like a Tabata. Between the contractions, you don't want to be talking.
Yeah.
You just want to just take it
Zone
in, breathe, get ready, because that time is coming. And then it starts getting faster and faster. And I did have a little freak out towards the end when there wasn't that break. I thought there'd be continuous little breaks.
Oh,
and all
it's like a death by.
Where did the break go?
Yeah, all of a sudden the rest gets less.
When they get less rest, and all of a sudden you're just going crazy, and all of a sudden you have that baby. So it gets exciting towards the end. But
birth really is like CrossFit.
Well, see, I think it was like the opposite for me, because I was expecting a Tabata type labor, and mine was so rapid I had no breaks ever. Like, I left school at 10:45 a.m. with my first mild cramp, and I was completely dilated by 1 o'clock. Like, it just came on. There was no, I was ready for this. I was ready for this Tabata thing.
And it was Fran.
And it was Fran on steroids. And it was like, oh my gosh. So then I freaked out. But
yeah, for anyone who's hasn't had a baby yet, or is, considering it, or guys you don't really know.
Are we scaring them?
The pain is dilation. Like, that's the pain. So you hear that, what she just said, that like, whoa, here it is. That's typically pretty painful. So good job. Way to go.
Good stuff. Yeah. Awesome. Well, cool. I think, did we cover everything? Is there anything that we're missing?
Did you say the giraffe thing?
Yeah, giraffe.
Oh, well, that was what I was I came back to with the teaching and the toddler. I felt like with today's standards, I'm expected to work and chase a toddler and then have the baby somehow in that. So there is a mentality, but exercise isn't okay, and that was what I was getting back to. I do have a postpartum story. I actually blogged about it, and blogged about it for Adidas that she read it. I don't know if you saw it. Mostly for myself, to remind myself that it took me a long time to get back the first time, because I thought I could just walk right back into the box and just squat, and I couldn't. In fact, I couldn't even walk around the block for over a week. Could have been part of it was a rough delivery, but and a big baby, but it really takes time, and I'm trying to mentally gear myself up for that. I'd actually told Elise already. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to be back for like 4 to 6 weeks. I know
you told me that the other day.
And I'll tell you, I'm more confident in your return, personally this time. Not that I knew you much beforehand, but simply because you've been under my care and I've been adjusting you. And I know from what I've seen over the years that those people always return. I had a chiropractor who worked for me who was back adjusting people 2 days after delivery. And it was like, how did you do this? She's like, I feel great. I don't know. I'm ready to go. And she did thrusters a day later.
I should have mentioned that this has been the key to my survival in both pregnancies is chiropractic care. I'll plug you there, but I mean, I wouldn't have been able to do, like, I wouldn't have worked out today if I hadn't been adjusted yesterday because, well, I did a modified version of Fran on Sunday to try to get this baby out. So I was a little sore yesterday.
That's funny.
So that's, I mean.
So I guess in closing, one thing I want to just kind of touch on too then is if we look at certain movements, you know, you've got different scaling and substitutions that you do for certain movements. So like you clean, and up to what point, like when do you stop trying to clean a barbell? Like as soon as you can't see your toes as you look down, or I mean, is there a rule for that you guys used? Or
Laura just did hang cleans up until the pregnancy.
Hang cleans,
instead of having
sense.
To pull from the floor, she pulled from
early.
Yeah, so you can pull around pretty easy. That's fine. But,
yeah, I mean after the baby was born, because I was so used to going
the
around.
bad form.
And if I would pull that bar right up along me, I would literally jump backwards. So it took me a few times to
figure out how to pull again.
Yes.
So that's cool. I mean, it's great that you can do that, though, right? And it's functional because the reality is you're going to have to pick your baby up and put him on your shoulder, like you said earlier. Sling him over. That's a clean.
One arm.
So,
but there's other situations, like for Anna, we've been having her doing a lot of some dumbbell work recently instead of barbell.
Yeah.
So to get around it. So
yeah, that makes sense.
And another thing I want to mention too is like for women who are pregnant and CrossFitting, it's a combination of listening to your coach and your body, you know, because we said like everybody's different, but also remember your coach watches you every day. And so they probably have some really good insight too, you know, as you develop along the way, because what you scale and what you do changes throughout the entire pregnancy. So I would always listen to like things that my coach said and also how I felt that day as far as my body. And kind of put the two together when I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do in a workout. So I would just encourage women who are pregnant too to, you know, get input from your coach who watches you every day.
I think that is very important because with everything in life, you know, we hear things in 16-bit, 32-bit, right? Like there's not like a cut and a dry, like someone says this and that's the answer. And I think that's something we have to talk about. You have to have a coach who knows you well, right? And that's going to help you. But
that's a strong call out right there to say if you're someone if you're a woman CrossFitting at home, that you probably need to not be CrossFitting at home if you get pregnant. Like you need to be under the eye of somebody.
And a good coach and someone who you've been working with, not some stranger. I mean, if you're just starting CrossFit and you get pregnant, they need to know you. They need to know what you're capable of before.
That's a tough road right there.
Yeah, it is difficult. Yeah, but at the end of the day, the end all is your body. Right, you know, they can give you recommendations. You know, as a coach, you know, like I said, I've trained all of you guys through. But at the end of the day, I think you probably remember my final question is, how are you feeling today? You know, how are you doing today? Try it. If it bothers you, that is the answer. You know, we can give you recommendations. We can give you scaling, you know, things like that. We can give you intensities and all these different things. But at the end of the day, it is going to be that kind of those two things together, you know, communication between you, your coach, and yourself, your body. So I like that. That's a good closing point for sure.
So, and then my last thing, and I'm going to be done, is so I personally won't take the advice or the criticism of somebody, doctor or otherwise, who hasn't lived it, tested it, tried it, or somehow has a better feel for what it is. So you guys out there in the world want to criticize, you want to talk bad about CrossFit and pregnancy, keep going, but guess what? We're not listening.
Yeah, if you have a doctor who criticizes what you're doing, ask them if they've done it before.
Find a new one.
And then and if they haven't, find one who has and see what their opinion is on it.
Exactly. Don't just discount the opinion, but they better have some experience.
Yeah. I mean, don't get hormonal on them and like throw stuff at them if they tell you no, but just go get Well, the guys. The girls, but go get another opinion, and specifically somebody who has done it, because it is not, you know, it's not cut and dry. And that's absolutely not. Well, cool, guys. This has been good. You guys knocked that one out of the park.
I like it.
Is there anything else you can think of? No? Maybe if it happens quick, we're going to do... No? I want to keep going then.
I actually really have to go to the bathroom, though.
Do you? So, good.
Podcast for hours.
Yeah, we didn't take a break, actually.
Well, I know. I thought about that earlier.
We didn't even touch on the whole, like, CrossFitting pregnant and having to go to the bathroom, but we won't.
We'll
just leave
the whole
it. We'll let
I want to talk before we go, double unders.
I can actually still do double unders, not afterwards. And
Not
they'll probably
afterwards?
tell you. Well, I couldn't after.
Took a
My
while
wife
to get
still
back
can't.
to that
3 years
control.
later, she can't do it.
Wow.
I mean, she can
can
do
now.
them, but not without a diaper on.
It has to make sure that it's completely empty ahead of time.
Yeah.
It's completely.
It still comes out.
Yeah.
That's what
No,
she said.
it still comes out.
Yeah.
That is a perfect ending point.
Yeah. Okay, we're done. I gotta go.
All right, guys. Yep. We'll
All
see you
right.
guys later.
Thank you.
Thanks.